one scandal. And that's all it takes in the K-drama world. One headline, one accusation, and everything you've built can vanish overnight. Tax evasion? Over. Rumors? Career gone. Even a hint of controversy? The internet decides your fate. But some actors don't stay down. Against all odds, they made a comeback, and they're bigger than ever. So buckle up. Here are 7 K-drama stars who faced career-ending scandals and somehow survived. 6. Lee Jung-jae. Wait, what if I told you the Squid Game star, the guy who just won an Emmy and became Korea's biggest international export, almost didn't make it? Yeah, Lee Jung-jae has a past, and it's messier than you think. Drunk driving, gangnam. He crashes into another car with actor Jung Woo-sung reportedly in the passenger seat. His blood alcohol level is high. And here's the kicker. At the scene, he tells police his manager was driving. Only later, during questioning, does he admit it was actually him. License revoked. Booked without detention. Public backlash begins. Then, 3 years later, 2002, he does it again. Gets caught at a checkpoint in Cheongdam-dong, driving under the influence. And this time, he's literally starring in a beer commercial. The irony wrote itself. The backlash was brutal. How could someone promote alcohol while getting caught drunk driving? It became a PR nightmare that nearly derailed his image as a leading man. But here's the thing about Lee Jung-jae. He didn't make excuses. He didn't disappear. He just worked. Throughout the 2000s, he appeared in major films like The Housemaid, New World, and Assassination, rebuilding his credibility one powerful performance at a time. He let his talent speak louder than his mistakes. And then came Squid Game, a global phenomenon, a complete cultural reset. The series catapulted him to international fame and earned him the 2022 Emmy for Best Lead Actor in a Drama, making him the first Asian man and the first non-English language performance to ever win that award. Think about that for a second. The guy who could have been permanently blacklisted became the first to break that barrier. 5. Park Min-young.
윌슨 교수님이 이런 데서 이름을 말하라고 절 조기 졸업시켜주신 건 아닐 텐데.
And excuse me? You gotta practice your accent. I almost didn't get it.
For over a decade, Park Min-young was untouchable, the rom-com queen, the career woman everyone rooted for, the actress with the perfect smile and the pristine reputation. She was K-drama's safe bet, reliable, beloved, clean. Then, late 2022, everything imploded in the most spectacular way possible. Dispatch, Korea's most notorious tabloid, reveals she's dating businessman Kang Jong-hyun. And not just any businessman. He's later accused of massive financial crimes tied to the Bithum crypto scandal, one of the biggest fraud cases in recent Korean history. The internet goes insane. Screenshots flood social media. Theories multiply. Old photos get dissected frame by frame. Within hours, her clean star image, the one she'd carefully built for over a decade, is completely shattered. Her agency immediately releases a statement. They confirm she dated him, but say they'd already broken up. They deny she received any money or gifts from him. They say she had no involvement in his business dealings. But that doesn't calm the storm. Not even close. Because in early 2023, reports surfaced that 250 million won, roughly $188,000, had been transferred through an account under Min-young's name. The internet explodes. How can she claim she didn't benefit when that much money passed through her account? Her agency, Hook Entertainment, scrambles to explain. They say the money was moved by Jong-hyun using a borrowed name account, a practice that's actually common but looks incredibly suspicious. They insist Min-young never touched or benefited from it. Prosecutors later summoned her only as a witness, not as a suspect. But by then, public opinion has already turned harsh. What made things worse was that her older sister was briefly listed as an outside director for one of Jong-hyun's companies. She resigned immediately when the scandal broke, but to the public, that connection was enough. It fed a year-long narrative that Min-young must have known, must have been complicit, must have benefited somehow, even without concrete evidence. For the entire year of 2023, she disappeared from the spotlight, completely. And in Korea, where your reputation is your career, silence is often interpreted as guilt. The longer she stayed quiet, the more people assumed she had something to hide. But behind the scenes, Park Min-young was struggling. In later interviews, she admitted that the entire experience took a severe toll on her physical and mental health. She said the stress was so intense that even medical tests showed how deeply the guilt and public condemnation had affected her body. But she also used that time for reflection, to figure out who she was beyond the scandal, to decide whether she even wanted to come back. Then came early 2024. And the turning point. Min-young returned to the public eye at the press conference for TVN's Marry My Husband. It was her first official appearance since the scandal, and every camera was on her. Every question was about whether she could still connect with audiences after everything that happened. And she didn't dodge it. She didn't hide. She apologized directly to her fans, admitted she'd been living with deep regret, and said all she wanted now was to focus on her craft and show a better side of herself. And then, she delivered.
시원아, 이번에는 그냥 안 넘어가. 네가 한 일, 네가 수습해.
When Marry My Husband premiered, the numbers spoke for themselves. The show started with modest ratings around 5%, but it quickly became one of TVN's biggest hits of the year, climbing to over 12% by the finale. It broke into Prime Video's global top 10, peaking at number 2 worldwide. Park Min-young's comeback proves something crucial. In an industry that can be brutally unforgiving, sometimes the only way back is through the work itself. Not excuses, not deflection, just pure, undeniable talent. 4. Lee Byung-hun.
얘들아, 그 밥 먹다 말고 뭐 하는 짓이야 이게? 밥 먹을 때 이러는 거 아니야? 여기 어르신들도 많은데 버르장머리 없이 거기다 두 놈이 한 사람을.
Lee Byung-hun wasn't just a Korean superstar, he was the Korean superstar, one of the first Hallyu actors to break into Hollywood, starring in G.I. Joe, RED2, Terminator Genesis. He had the fame, the money, the international recognition. He'd just married actress Lee Min-jung. Everything looked absolutely perfect, and then that scandal hit like a freight train. September 2014. Lee Byung-hun goes to the police with a shocking report. Two women, model Lee Ji-hoon and glam member Da-hee, had tried to blackmail him for 5 billion won using a private video they'd recorded without his knowledge. The case goes to trial. Both women are later convicted and sentenced to prison in early 2015. Legally, Lee Byung-hun was the victim. But in the court of public opinion, things weren't so straightforward. The backlash was significant. Korean netizens flooded online forums with questions, not just about the crime itself, but about the circumstances surrounding it. He was a newlywed. What was the context that led to this situation? What really happened? Even though he wasn't charged with any wrongdoing, even though he was legally the victim, the scandal raised questions that many felt weren't fully answered. The case sparked endless speculation about his personal life, his marriage, his judgment. At the time, Lee Byung-hun publicly apologized, not for committing a crime, but for disappointing his family and fans. And in an industry where one headline can destroy years of carefully built reputation, many thought his career was over. But that's not what happened. He came back strong, starting with the political thriller Inside Men. The film not only topped the box office, but also earned him Best Actor awards across major ceremonies. It was a powerful, gritty performance that reminded everyone why he was considered one of Korea's finest actors. It was a statement. His talent still spoke louder than his controversy. Then came Mr. Sunshine, one of TVN's most expensive and most watched dramas ever, a sweeping historical epic that showcased his range and depth. His performance was universally praised, re-establishing him as a top-tier actor both domestically and internationally. From there, he moved into a second global act that few Korean stars have ever achieved. He appeared as the mysterious frontman in Netflix's Squid Game, one of the biggest shows in streaming history. His reveal in the season finale became one of the most talked about moments in K-drama. And now, he's headlining No Other Choice, directed by Park Chan-wook, one of Korea's most acclaimed filmmakers. The movie premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2025, earning glowing early reviews and marking yet another chapter in Lee Byung-hun's transformation from scandal to prestige. He's rebuilt his career into something undeniably impressive. Whether that redemption was earned or simply the result of an industry that forgives powerful men more easily, that's a question audiences still grapple with. 3. Ji-hoon.
한양에 상주하는 정예병력만 5천 정도죠. 아무리 조각주라 해도 그 병력을 모두 출전시키기엔 부담이 컸을 겁니다.
Before Kingdom, before Netflix turned him into a global star, before millions of international fans knew his name, Ji-hoon's story was almost over before it really began. Back in 2009, right after his breakout role in Princess Hours made him one of Korea's brightest rising stars, everything came crashing down. He got caught up in a substance-related case. And in Korea, that's huge. The stigma around these issues is intense, the public condemnation is swift, and the industry response is brutal. Within days, endorsements disappeared, networks blacklisted him, projects got canceled. His rapidly rising career came to a sudden, grinding halt. Unlike some actors who try to dodge responsibility or make excuses, Ji-hoon took full responsibility. He accepted his sentence, apologized publicly, and then completely disappeared from the spotlight. No interviews, no appearances, nothing. For many actors, this would have been the end. Career over. Move on to something else. But Ji-hoon had a different plan. In 2010, he quietly enlisted for his mandatory military service, serving as a police officer. For 2 full years, he stayed completely out of the public eye, rebuilding his life one day at a time, away from cameras and scrutiny. When he was discharged in 2011, most people assumed his acting career was finished for good. Why would networks take him back? Why would audiences forgive him? Why would brands risk their reputation on someone with that kind of past? But Ji-hoon wasn't finished. In 2013, MBC officially lifted its broadcast ban on him, a small door opening after years of waiting in silence. And by 2015, he finally walked through it. His first major comeback was the SBS drama Mask. It wasn't just a TV role, it was a statement. He poured everything into that performance, showing a vulnerability and intensity that proved he hadn't just been sitting around feeling sorry for himself. He'd grown as an actor. And it paid off. By the end of the year, he took home 2 major acting awards, proving to the industry and to himself that he was ready to stand in front of the camera again. From there, Ji-hoon built his second act carefully, project by project, never rushing, always choosing quality over quantity. He earned critical praise for Asura, The City of Madness in 2016, a dark crime thriller that showcased his range. Then came Along with the Gods, the fantasy epic that became one of the highest-grossing Korean films of all time. Suddenly, he wasn't just that actor with the scandal, he was a bankable star again. But his biggest breakthrough? Kingdom. When Netflix dropped the zombie period drama in 2019, Ji-hoon's performance as the Crown Prince absolutely blew up worldwide. The show hit a 98% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, introducing millions of international viewers to his acting range, his quiet intensity, his ability to carry a series. And here's what's fascinating. Thanks to the global rise of K-drama, especially on platforms like Netflix, many newer fans know him primarily as a talented actor, not for his scandal from over a decade ago. His work has genuinely overshadowed his past. 2. Kim Seon-ho.
대체 그쪽 정체가 뭐냐고.
나? 홍반장.
By 2021, Kim Seon-ho was living every actor's dream. Startup, hometown, cha-cha-cha. He wasn't just another romantic lead, he was the nation's boyfriend. His warmth, his smile, his sincerity, everything about him screamed perfect K-drama hero. Fans adored him, brands lined up to work with him, his career trajectory looked unstoppable. But then, in the span of just a few days, that perfect image came crashing down in one of the fastest falls in modern K-drama history. It started on October 17, 2021. An anonymous post appears online from someone claiming to be the ex-girlfriend of actor K, accusing him of pressuring her into getting an abortion and allegedly ending their relationship shortly afterward. The post spreads like wildfire. Within hours, Kim Seon-ho's name is trending everywhere. And though no proof was presented, no evidence shown, the internet had already decided he was guilty. His agency stays silent for 2 agonizing days, a silence that only made things exponentially worse. Every hour without a response was interpreted as confirmation. Brands started getting nervous, fans started doubting. The pile-on began. By the time his agency finally releases a statement, several brands have already cut ties. Kim Seon-ho himself issues a brief apology, saying he had caused hurt through his careless actions. And that apology? It's interpreted as an admission of guilt. In less than 72 hours, his entire career collapses. He's removed from 2 upcoming films, dropped from KBS's massively popular variety show 2 Days and One Night. Advertisers erase his image from every campaign, every billboard, every commercial. It was one of the fastest, most complete downfalls in modern K-drama history. 3 days, that's all it took. But then, in a twist that honestly only happens in K-dramas, Dispatch releases something that changes everything. They publish a detailed timeline of messages and photos exchanged between Kim Seon-ho and his ex-girlfriend. The messages paint a far more complicated mutual story, one that doesn't fully match the initial accusations at all. The conversations show discussions, considerations, moments of care that don't align with the narrative of pressure and abandonment. Even major Korean news outlets later summarize that the early reports had been largely inaccurate or exaggerated. Public opinion slowly begins to shift. Some people apologize for jumping to conclusions. Others argue that the damage was already done regardless of what the full truth was. Rather than fight his way back into the spotlight immediately, rather than doing a big media tour or trying to force a comeback, Kim Seon-ho chose something different: silence. For months, he disappeared completely. But in July 2022, he returned in the most humble, genuine way possible: theater. Then came the real comeback. In June 2023, he made his film debut with The Child, an action thriller directed by Park Hoon-jung of New World fame. In 2024, he continued rebuilding carefully. He starred in Disney Plus's The Tyrant, a 4-part action miniseries that marked his first lead role since the scandal. By 2025, Kim Seon-ho had officially made his way back into the K-drama spotlight. He starred in Netflix's When Life Gives You Tangerines, and later this year, he's set to lead Can This Love Be Translated?, a romantic series from the legendary Hong sisters, alongside rising star Go Yeon-jung. And in 2026, he's reuniting with Suzy for the psychological thriller Delusion. With back-to-back project announcements, fans proved one thing: Kim Seon-ho still holds a special place in the K-drama world that no one can replace. 1. Ye-ji.
사과하지. 해요. 사과.
By 2020, Ye-ji was on the verge of becoming the next major leading lady of K-dramas. After It's Okay to Not Be Okay, she wasn't just a breakout star, she was the moment. With her deep, distinctive voice, her striking visuals, and her incredible emotional control, Ye-ji had everything. The poise of a classic heroine, the boldness to take on unconventional, complex roles, the kind of on-screen chemistry that could make even the coldest love story feel devastatingly real. She could sell heartbreak and passion like absolutely no one else. Industry insiders were calling her the future. Brands were lining up. Her next projects looked incredible. But then, in 2021, everything changed in the worst possible way. April 2021, Dispatch publishes alleged text messages between Ye-ji and her then-boyfriend, actor Kim Jung-hyun. The messages suggest that during his 2018 drama time, she had allegedly urged him to avoid physical contact and romantic scenes with his co-star, Seon-ho, and to be cold and distant on set. The narrative explodes across social media, online forums, news sites. People start calling her manipulative, controlling, toxic. The story snowballs. Old clips from Time get reanalyzed. People pointing out Kim Jung-hoon's awkward behavior during the show, suggesting it was all because of her influence behind the scenes. Then, the domino effect begins. She skips the press conference for her movie Recalled. She drops out of the highly anticipated fantasy drama Island. Old rumors resurface, accusations about her behavior in school, questions about her education in Spain. And though none are conclusively proven, the public has already made up its mind. Brands pull her advertisements. Comment sections turn absolutely vicious. In a matter of days, the actress once praised for her elegance, mystery, and talent becomes one of the most talked about figures in Korean entertainment, for all the wrong reasons. Her agency, Gold Medalist, releases multiple statements addressing the situation, trying to provide context, trying to defend her. But Seo Ye-ji herself stays completely silent. For months, she disappears from public life entirely. No Instagram posts, no interviews, no sightings, nothing. Then, nearly a year later in February 2022, she finally speaks through a handwritten letter posted by her agency. She apologizes for her immature attitude and says she deeply regrets disappointing the people who had supported and believed in her. That same year, she makes a quiet but striking comeback in Eve, a dark, mature revenge melodrama filled with passion, betrayal, and intense 19-plus scenes. It was a risky choice. Most actors coming back from Scandal choose something safe, something wholesome to rebuild their image. But Seo Ye-ji went the opposite direction. She chose a role that demanded everything from her, a role that was bold and unapologetic. And people watched. The series drew massive attention, partly for its provocative content, partly because it marked her return, but mostly because people wanted to see if Seo Ye-ji still had it. And she absolutely did. Her performance was commanding, layered, magnetic, a powerful reminder of why she had once been considered one of the most promising leading ladies of her generation. In an industry that's often far less forgiving toward women than men, the fact that Seo Ye-ji is still standing, still relevant, still talked about, still remembered, is already a quiet victory. And that wraps up our look at K-drama actors who faced career-ending scandals and somehow made it back. Who do you think did not deserve this second chance? Comment down, we'd love to know. And since we already talked about Seo Ye-ji, the actress once poised to be the next big leading lady before everything fell apart, did you know she actually made our list of the best K-drama kissers? Yep, scandal or not, she still knows how to sell a romance. Click on this video right here to see who else made the cut. And let's just say, it's a list you don't want to miss.